Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Daily News Decoded. Today we are going to discuss following topics. The first one is biofuels in India. Second topic, smart city mission. Third topic is Indus water treaty dispute. Fourth one is JNPA joins top global ports. And lastly, World Economic Forum 2025. Before starting, one important announcement. Today UPSC has released the UPSC CSC 2025 notification and the last date for application will be 11th February 2025. The first article that we have is Need Policy for Affordable Bioethanol. Now this article is in the backdrop of use of renewable energy sources to reduce import oil dependency. And it is important from your GS3 paper, that is the topics are conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. Secondly, about awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology and biotechnology. Also, in the energy section of economics, under heading renewable energy, this topic can be asked. Now previously UPSC has given some questions from this area. These questions are: access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy is the sine qua non to achieve sustainable development goals. Comment on the progress made in India in this regard. It was asked in 2018. Another question was, do you think India will meet 50% of its energy needs from renewable energy by 2030? Justify your answer. How will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewable help to achieve the above objectives? Explain. It was asked recently in Mains 2022. Now next thing is, what are biofuels? Biofuels are renewable energy sources derived from biological materials such as plants, agriculture residues, animal waste and other organic materials. Examples include biodiesel, biogas, bioethanol. These are the examples of biofuels. Under types of biofuels, we have biodiesel, bioethanol, bio-CNG, biobutanol, biochar. So these are the types of biofuels that we have. Biodiesel can be blended with diesel fuel. Bioethanol we have petrol in which you can blend the bioethanol. Bio-CNG can replace your CNG, that we have compressed natural gas. Then biobutanol can actually replace the petroleum gas or your gasoline. It can be replaced by biobutanol. And biochar is a type of charcoal produced by pyrolysis of the organic material. So it can replace the use of charcoal. So these are the types of biofuels that we have. Now under biofuels, there are various categories also. There are various generations also. These generations include, the first one is first generation fuels. Then we have second generation fuels. Then we have third generation fuels. And lastly, we have fourth generation fuels. Now first generation fuels are those fuels which are derived from the crops which are food sources. For example, cereals, sugar, starch, vegetable oils or animal fat. Examples can include biodiesel, vegetable oils, biogas, even bioethanol also comes under the first generation fuel if it is derived from the food crops. So whatever we can eat, if the biofuels are derived from that, these are known as first generation fuels or 1G fuels, 1G biofuels. Now these 1G biofuels or first generation biofuels, they actually pose a threat to our food security. So that's become a challenge for us. Now next is the second generation fuels, which are derived from non-food crops, that means which are not edible crops. For example, we can have biofuels derived from materials like stem, husks, wood chips, etc. And examples included are cellulose ethanol or biodiesel. So these are your second generation fuels which are derived from non-food crops. You should remember this term, non-food crops. This becomes important here. And first generation fuels, they are derived from the food sources. Now next is the third generation fuels, which include microorganisms like algae, water bodies which are not fit for human consumption are used for production of these microorganisms, and the biofuels are derived from these microorganisms. So it allows us to use our wasteland, our wastewater bodies as a source of biofuel for us. Now the problem here comes is that there can be use of fertilizers also for propagating the growth of these microorganisms, and this use of fertilizer can actually hamper our ecosystem. So that is the only problem that we have with respect to the third generation fuels. Now last is the fourth generation biofuels. In the fourth generation biofuels, we are going to use genetically engineered crops. This is one step ahead of the previous generations of the biofuel. How? In this, we are going to genetically modify the crops so that they have more absorption power of greenhouse gases from atmosphere. Greenhouse gases like CO2, they will have more capability to absorb CO2 from atmosphere so that it can also clean our atmosphere. That's why these are considered as carbon capture utilization system. These are considered as carbon capture utilization system, which is of good grade. So the fourth generation biofuels, what they are going to do is that they are going to produce biofuels. Along with that, they will also help in cleaning our atmosphere. So that gives us a added advantage of carbon sequestration or carbon capture. This categorization of biofuels is important from both prelims as well as mains point of view, and question can be asked in both the examinations. Now next comes is the important part, that is significance of biofuels. Biofuels are significant for us from strategic, economic, socio-economic and ecological point of view. From strategic point of view, biofuels are important for our energy security. They are helping us in diversifying our energy resources because we are having a new resource for energy. Secondly, it is reducing our dependence on oil imports. Thirdly, as it is reducing our dependence on oil imports, it is helping us in evading the fluctuations in oil prices that happen due to various geopolitical developments. So from strategic point of view, it is making India independent, or making India one step closer towards independence from international fluctuations. So that is the help that we get. Another significance of biofuel is with respect to the perspective of economy. As our dependence on imports is reducing, that's why it will help us in reducing our import bill also. So our import bill, it will be reduced. For example, in 2017-18 itself, we have saved around 4,000 crore of forex at current prices through use of E10, that means 10% ethanol blended fuel that we were using. So it helped us in saving our valuable forex reserve that we were spending upon the import of the crude oil and other oil imports. Secondly, it also helped in increasing the investment in the country. Why? Because for biofuel, we need to establish plants for production of biofuel from the crops or other agriculture material. Now, establishment of these plants will help us in improving investment in the country, and it will help in improving the capital formation in the country. Next thing is that when we are having new plants for bioenergy, then it will ultimately lead to new job generation as well. For example, a 100 kiloliter per day capacity plant gives employment to 1200 people, or it generates 1200 jobs. So that is the direct economic benefit that we get. Now another benefit is the socio-economic benefit that we get. And socio-economic benefit we get in the form of farmer income. Farmer income how? Because most of the time the agriculture waste is often burnt. This agriculture waste can be used for production of biofuels, and it can help the farmer in earning income for him. So there can be income generation source for the farmer also. Secondly, there is a lot of wasteland also which can be used for production of the crops that can help in production of biofuels. So it will help in augmenting farmer income as well, and as a result it will help in rural growth. So these are the socio-economic benefits that we have. So the divide between urban areas and rural areas with respect to economy, it can be a little bit bridged by the use of biofuels. Now next is the environmental benefit that we get from the biofuels. Now biofuels, they have 20% less hydrocarbon emissions as compared to the fossil fuels. Secondly, certain emissions like sulfur emissions, which are very much prevalent in the fossil fuels, these are not observed in the biofuels. That is another benefit. Now third benefit is that it produces less amount of carbon monoxide. Around 30 to 50% less carbon monoxide is produced when we use biofuels. So it becomes a more clean fuel. So that is the benefit from ecological point of view that we are getting from these biofuels. So sulfur emissions are less, greenhouse emissions are less. Even CO emissions are also less. Another benefit that we have is the municipal solid waste, because municipal solid waste can be used for production of biofuels. Now their disposal, their management also can be tackled by the help of the biofuels, because those solid waste can be used for production of biofuels. So it will also help in tackling another urban problem of waste management, because the municipal solid waste can be used for generation of the biofuels. Then lastly is that when the agriculture waste is being utilized for production of biofuels, when it is not burned, that means the pollution levels that we see in the NCR region, we are prevented from that also. So it is helping in two ways. First of all, the emission levels are less in biofuels. Secondly, it is also preventing stubble burning in the region, which is producing pollution. So biofuels have a great significance for the country from the economic point of view, from strategic point of view, socio-economic point of view, as well as from ecology or environmental point of view. Along with that, there is another advantage is of the enhanced vehicular performance. In the enhanced vehicular performance, the octane number of bioethanol is quite high, and high octane number means there is less knocking in engine, which improves its performance also. So it is giving better life to the vehicles also. So this is the significance of the biofuels. The first and the foremost challenge is the fuel versus food security, because the crops can either be used for food security or they can be used for generation of biofuels. Now if generation of biofuels or production of biofuels is increasing, that means our food security is getting undermined. So that is the one big challenge that we have. Secondly, most of our biofuel is generated or produced from the food crops itself. That's why we are over dependent on the first generation biofuels, which is hampering our food security. So that is a big challenge that we are having. And the second generation, third generation and fourth generation biofuels are having their own challenges. For example, second and third generation biofuels, they have high cost because we are not having that technology which can make it economical. Secondly, yield is low, they have low yield. So these are the challenges which second and third generation biofuels are facing. The fourth generation biofuel, that is genetically modified crops, it is still in developmental and research stage. So we do not have a fully developed fourth generation biofuel technology that should be used. Now next is the land use change. Now as we are using our land for biofuel crops, it can lead to diversion of forested land towards agriculture land, which can result in deforestation. So that is another big challenge that we have, that how to manage that our forest land is not converted to the agriculture land, especially for generation of biofuel. Next thing is the monoculture farming, because for biofuel production the quality doesn't matter. Basically you need biomass. So if the crop is not of good quality also, then also it will be used for the biofuel production. So it can lead to monoculture farming also. It can lead to large spares of land being used for production of crops that will be used for generation of biofuel. So that is another challenge. Next is the emission from the production, because for the production we will be using fertilizers, pesticides and other chemicals. It can lead to emissions which can hamper our environment. And lastly, it can also lead to use of groundwater, and groundwater depletion can be a major challenge in the biofuel production. So these are the challenges that we face with respect to biofuel. Now next comes what are the government initiative and how government is promoting these biofuels in India. The foremost is the National Biofuel Policy of 2018. Now this biofuel policy, it divides the biofuels into two categories. First is the basic biofuels, which include first generation biofuels. Second is the advanced biofuels. It includes second and third generation biofuels. Now second generation biofuels, it can be generated from municipal solid waste or drop in fuels. So this categorization has been done by the government. This third generation biofuels, they can be generated from the microbes. So this is the first thing that this biofuel policy is giving us. Second thing is that it is focusing on advanced biofuel. For advanced biofuel, what the government has proposed is that there will be viability gap funding amounting to 5,000 crore rupees. Secondly, the government is going to reduce taxes on this. Thirdly, government is going to purchase or prioritize purchase of these advanced biofuels. So this policy talks about the categorization of the biofuels and what has to be done for promotion of the advanced biofuel. Second is the ethanol production. For ethanol production, government has actually expanded the scope. In this scope, now sugarcane juice, sugar containing materials like sugar beet or sweet sorghum, they can be used. Thirdly, starch containing materials like corn, cassava can also be used. Also, damaged food crops, they can be used for production of ethanol. Earlier it was not allowed. Next is that it has allowed use of surplus food grains for production of ethanol. So that is a new thing which will help in generation of more ethanol or bioethanol. Now this has to be done with the permission of National Biofuel Coordination Committee. So with the permission of the National Biofuel Coordination Committee, these surplus food grains can be used for production of ethanol, because these surplus food grains, they are getting wasted, they are getting rotten when we are putting them in our storage units. So this extra food grains can be used for biofuel production. Now next is that it is increasing the production of biodiesel also. For biodiesel, the policy says that supply chain mechanism can be increased by use of non-edible oil seeds, used cooking oils and short gestation crops can be used for production of biodiesel. Now next thing is that for each biofuel, government is taking certain steps. For example, for bioethanol, the feedstock has been expanded, as we have already seen in our national biofuel policy. Second is that for ethanol blended program, now the administered price for sugarcane will also be there, from which the ethanol is being produced. Secondly, the GST has also been reduced from 12% to 5%. So there is a reduction in the tax also. Next, there is a ethanol interest subvention scheme for production of ethanol from molasses and grains. Next is that long-term offtake agreements between the oil marketing companies and dedicated ethanol plants is also being done, so that ethanol plants do not have the issue of economic viability. Another scheme is Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana, जैव ईंधन वातावरण अनुकूल फसल अवशेष निवारण योजना. Now, in this, the objective is to promote advanced biofuel projects and 2G or second generation ethanol capacity. It was launched in 2019 and got amended in 2024, that is last year itself. Now, it will provide financial assistance including viability gap funding for integrated bioethanol projects using lignocellulosic biomass and other renewable feedstocks. Now, again this word 2G is coming. We are producing ethanol from our non-food crops. So this Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana will be focusing on production of biofuels from non-food crops. Now the outlay is around 2000 crores for 12 projects between 2018 to 19 to 2023-24. Now next is the biodiesel. For biodiesel, guidelines have been given by the government for blending of biodiesel with the high-speed diesel that is used for transportation. Next, the GST has been reduced from 12% to 5% for biodiesel procurement for blending. Another one is the National Biofuel Policy of 2018 mandates 5% biodiesel blending in our normal use. Now after that comes the compressed biogas. For the compressed biogas, financial aid for biomass aggregation and pipeline infrastructure will be provided. Secondly, mandated sale of CNGs in the transport sector as well as the piped natural gas that is used for domestic. That means the biogas that is being produced will be used as CNG in transportation as well as for domestic use, where piped natural gas supply is there. Along with that, government has brought two more schemes, Satat Initiative and Gobardhan Scheme. Let's see them also. First one is Satat Initiative. It is the initiative of Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and it was released in 2018. Its basic objective was to establish 5,000 bio-CNG plants. And production target was 15 MMT of bio-CNG by 23-24. It encourages entrepreneurship to set up CBGs or compressed biogas plants, production units, and supplies CBG to oil marketing companies or OMCs. Another initiative is Gobardhan Scheme. This is under Drinking Water and Sanitation and it was released in 2018 or launched in 2018 as a part of the Swachh Bharat Mission Grameen Phase 2. Under solid waste management. Financial assistance for setting up of cluster or community level biogas plants up to 50 lakh per district will be provided. So it is focusing on cluster or community level bioplants. The Satat scheme was focusing on entrepreneurs, yani individual can establish the plants. So this is the basic difference. Next, its aim is to support collection and conversion of organic waste. So you should know the difference between Gobardhan scheme as well as the Satat scheme. The Satat scheme, it was launched by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and anyone can establish a biogas plant, maybe urban or rural area. That is not a foundation. In the Gobardhan scheme, what we are having is that it is under Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation and it is for the rural areas specifically. Last part of this topic is how has been our journey with respect to ethanol blended petrol program. So if we see in 2013-14, the ethanol procurement was around 38 crore. Now it has increased to over 500 crores liter in 2023-24. Next, the blending percentage, it has risen from 1.53% to around 15.83% in 2024. And the blending target that we have right now we have is 20% blending we have to achieve by 2025-26. So this was about the biofuel that is in India. Now lastly, we have some questions for the practice. You can practice these questions and you can post your answers. Now next topic we have is Smart City Mission. Now this topic is important from governance topic point of view in your GS paper 2. Here we are discussing this topic because this year the Smart City Mission will be completing its 10 years. It was launched in 2015. Now this year it will be completing its 10 years. In this topic we are going to study what are the various important elements of Smart City Mission. Secondly, we are going to see how has this Smart City Mission performed in the last 10 years, what challenges the Smart City Mission is facing, what are the challenges the urban areas are facing, and next, what are the government initiatives for urban development. Now before moving ahead, let's see what are the previous questions that UPSC has asked from this topic. In the mains, the UPSC has asked it in 2016 with a brief background of the quality of urban life in India, introduce the objective and strategy of Smart City program. That means it was launched in 2015 and 2016 the UPSC has asked a question on this mission. Secondly, what are smart cities? Examine the relevance of urban development in India with increase in urban-rural differences. Give arguments for smart villages in light of Pura and urban mission, and it was again asked in 2016. From prelims point of view, UPSC has asked question on the Smart India Hackathon of 2017. Now these are the questions that UPSC has asked previously. Now let's move towards the topic. Smart City Mission, it was launched on 25th June 2015 by Honorable Prime Minister. Its objective was to promote cities that provide core infrastructure, clean and sustainable environment, and give decent quality of life to their citizens through application of smart solutions. There were 100 cities that were selected under this mission. So this was the objective of the Smart City Mission, to make our cities better, to make our cities more smart and solve the problems that these cities are facing. Now next thing is what approach this Smart City Mission has took. So there were basically two approaches. One was pan city projects, second was area based development approach. Now in the pan city projects, what it was doing is that there will be certain projects that will be implemented across the whole city. For example, where it is required connectivity, waste management, traffic management, utility problems, citizen safety, e-governance. So for these problems which were being faced by the whole city, the pan city projects will be implemented, and the use of Internet of Things will be used for solving these problems. Now second was the area based development approach. Now this area based development approach, it was for a defined area, and targeted intervention will be done, and this targeted intervention will create new models, and these models will be replicated all across the city and across other cities as well, and these areas will be chosen by the citizens itself. That means through citizen participation these areas will be chosen. So there were two approaches basically. One was pan city approach, which were for the problems that the whole city was facing. Secondly, certain areas will be selected which will be created as models for the whole city, and those models will be replicated across the whole city. So you can say there was certain kind of experimentation that will be done in these areas, and these areas will be developed on those basis, and that experimentation will be then implemented all across the city. Now next thing is what are the key dimensions of this mission. Now the key dimensions include, first is constitution of a special purpose vehicle. Now special purpose vehicle is basically something like a company which is going to implement that project. So there will be creation of special purpose vehicle for implementation of this Smart City Mission. Second is promotion of multiple funding sources for the project, because funding is an important area. So this mission aimed at promotion of multiple funding, so that funding should not be a problem for the city development. Next is it will foster competitive federalism as well, because through competitive federalism the states will be competing to get the best city out of their state. So it will promote the competitive federalism as well. Nextly, it will try to engage the citizens in the process so that citizen participation can be ensured. Now, how has been the performance of this smart city mission? So if we summarize it, we see that 75% of the projects were completed in 75 cities. 7 cities were there which have completed 100% of their projects. Next, 34 cities have completed over 90% of the projects, and 24 cities have completed over 75% of their projects. So this was the performance of the smart city mission in our country. Now next comes is, what are the challenges this smart city mission has been facing? Now challenges include, first of all, implementation delays and project management. Now how implementation delays were done? First of all, the CEO of the special purpose vehicle, there was regular transfers, there were regular change in the CEOs of this special purpose vehicle. Now when the person who is heading this special purpose vehicle is being changed or transferred regularly, that means there will be lack of continuity, and this lack of continuity actually hampered the implementation of the process. So that was one of the reasons. Second problem was, there was lack of clear guidelines for the functioning of special purpose vehicle. So both these two factors lead to implementation delays in project management. Next is financial constraints. More or less, these projects were dependent upon budgetary allocations, and they relied upon what the center or the state government was giving. They were not having their own mechanism to generate funds. That became an impediment in implementation of the projects. So that was again a challenge. Next was stakeholder coordination and inclusivity. The MPs were not included in the state level advisory forums. Now, non-inclusion of MPs in state level advisory forums lead to delays and cancellation of the project. Because if you are including MP, then you are able to leverage the grassroots support and also the grassroots expertise of that area. So including MPs in the process will help in better implementation of the schemes. So that was lacking. Secondly, the street vendors were not integrated. Now, not integrating street vendors led to marginalization of them. The parliamentary committee recommended that these street vendors should be integrated in the process, and that can be done by integrating Street Vendor Act with the Smart City Mission. So this was also recommended. Now next one is legal and administrative hurdles. Administrative and legal hurdles in the sense of the clearances, they were not easy to get. The legal system is complex. Land acquisition, again a big issue. So these issues did not allow the projects to be completed in time. They actually led to delays in project implementation. So that again became a challenge for the implementation or success of this project. Next is resource availability. Now in smaller and medium cities, what was happening that there was lack of vendor and resources, and that actually delayed the projects that were being implemented. So that was again an issue. Now next is, for every city there will be an integrated command and control center. Now the problem was that they were underutilized. And why they were underutilized? Because they were not integrated with the municipal and local bodies. So it led to their underutilization. So it was recommended by the parliamentary committee also that these integrated command and control centers should be integrated with the local bodies so that there can be better utilization of the resources and there can be avoidance of repetition of the same activities in the city. Now last one is limited scope of the pan city projects. Now if we see what are the pan city projects? Pan city projects are those projects which will be implemented in the whole city, and these are the projects which are the solutions to the problems that the whole city is facing. For example, traffic congestion, waste management, waste disposal, urban flooding, things like that. Now for that, the scope of the pan city projects was very limited. How it was limited? If we see, in 76 cities, less than 50% of the projects related with this pan city projects. So we see in more than 75% of the cities, less than 50% of the projects were these pan city projects. And these pan city projects could have been a panacea for the problems that the cities or urban areas were facing. So these were the challenges in implementation of this smart city mission scheme. Now next we move to what are the challenges the urban areas are facing. Because today also we are seeing that urban areas are facing a lot of issues, and these issues have not been solved yet. So let's move to that part now. First and foremost is the infrastructure deficiencies. The whole urban infrastructure is overburdened, and there is unplanned urbanization also. Overburdened in the sense that if we see the roads, the road infrastructure, if we see, it is overburdened. There are a lot of traffic on the roads. Secondly, if we see the water supply, it is inadequate. Why it is inadequate? Because there is overburdening, there is over pressure on that system. Then if we see the sewage system, that is again not properly managed, it is again overburdened. So the infrastructure that these cities are having, it is insufficient to cater to the demands of the population that is residing in these cities. Second is that the urbanization is unplanned also. That is also leading to this overburdening. Because more or less what we have seen is that there have been a migration from rural areas to the urban areas. And this migration has brought a lot of people to the urban areas. Now this growth in population of the urban areas, it has led to congestion, then pollution, and overburdening of the infrastructure. So this is the first problem that we are facing. Second problem is governance and administrative challenges. The urban areas have weak governance system, that is the local governance system is weak here. Secondly, coordination from center, state and local areas is also very weak, and it affects the smooth functioning of schemes in these areas. So that is another challenge. Now next is fragmented planning and policy implementation. The policy formulation is very fragmented. There is no coordination, there is not adequate coordination between the schemes that are being framed by center, state or the local bodies, and that's why their implementation is also fragmented. There is many a times overlapping of the efforts. Same efforts are being done by the state government, same efforts are being done by the central government, and same efforts are being done by the local bodies also. So it is leading to over expenditure of the resources and their inefficient expenditure as well. So that is another problem. Now next is the financial constraints. The urban areas are having limited avenues of the funding. They do not have the funding areas where they can actually garner funds. Secondly, they are dependent upon the allocations by the center and the state government. So that is another problem. And the scope for private investment is very less. So all of these factors lead to less development of the urban areas and providing solutions to the problem of these areas. So that is another challenge the urban areas are facing. Next is environmental sustainability. Now if we see, the urban areas are overpopulated, there is a lot of traffic congestion, and due to these things there is the problem of environmental sustainability. There is air pollution, there is problem of waste disposal, and these problems actually lead to environmental issues. These are impacting health of the people, and on constant basis we see that the urban areas are always in red zone with respect to the pollution levels. It is also leading to groundwater pollution. So that is another problem. So in the urban areas we face air, water and land pollution issues. Secondly, the green spaces are shrinking, as well as the water bodies that are in these areas, they have also disappeared. So that it is actually affecting the overall living standards, the overall living standards of cities. And lastly is the climate resilience. Most of the cities are inadequate to handle the problems like created by disasters. They include flooding, heat waves, or cyclones. So the cities are ill-equipped to handle the climate-related issues like flooding or cyclones or heat waves. So that is another problem which the urban areas are facing. Now next comes is the social inclusivity. On the social front, what we see is that more or less the infrastructure projects or the developmental projects are focused upon the middle and the urban class. The lower class or the poor people are left out of that. So majorly the solutions that are being implemented, the development projects that are being implemented, they are mainly focused on the rich level or the middle and upper classes of the urban areas. So that is another problem. The poor are being marginalized in the cities. Secondly, the issue of worker migration is also there, because urban areas are the areas where you can get job. So there is a lot of migration in these areas. Due to heavy migration in these areas and lack of focus of development on the poor people, these migrant workers are forced to live in those conditions where even the basic amenities are not available. The water supply or electricity or sewage system is not available there, and it may lead to health problems as well as it deteriorates the living condition of these people. Lastly, the issue of gender equality is also there. The safety, security of the women, the gender discrimination related issues, they are more prevalent in the urban areas. So that is another challenge in the urban areas. Next is the urban mobility and transportation. There is heavy traffic congestion, inadequate public transport system, and urban sprawl and connectivity has exaggerated these problems as well. Traffic congestion in the form of that the more or less the people are buying more cars, and the road infrastructure that we are having in the urban areas, it is not adequate to handle that amount of traffic. Secondly, the public transport system that we are having, it is inadequate as well as inefficient to handle the problems of the urban, to handle the transportation needs of the urban people. Lastly, the urban sprawl and connectivity. Because of the high migration in these cities, what is happening is that the urban areas are expanding, and there is urban sprawl like of problem in which the urban area is extended to the rural areas, and the developmental process that is being done, that is unplanned development. It is known as unplanned urbanization of these areas. That actually exaggerates these problems of traffic congestion, pollution, and other problems. Now, next challenge is the housing shortages. A lot of people migrate to the urban areas, and in the urban areas, these migrating people are basically not very well off, and they actually belong to the poorer section of the society. Now, there is a lack of affordable housing in the cities. We are facing a crisis in terms of the affordable housing in the society, in the urban areas. Secondly, there is development of slums and informal settlements. As I have already told you, these slums and informal settlements, they are not even having the basic amenities. So it is affecting the overall health as well as living standards of the people residing in the urban areas. So that is another problem that we are facing. Now next issue is fragmented land use and planning. What we see is that in the urban areas, there is a mixed land use policy because it is unregulated, due to which there is overlap of residential, industrial, and commercial areas, which are not segregated and which create problems in these urban areas. Secondly, there is urban sprawl also. In urban sprawl, the cities are expanding in an unplanned manner, and it is leading to inefficient land use and infrastructure cost also increases. So this is the problem with respect to the fragmented land use. Next is the land and housing regulation issues. Land and housing regulation issues involve the issue of land acquisition. The land acquisition process is very complex. Secondly, there is zoning also of the areas which create regulatory bottlenecks. So these problems actually lead to the problem of land acquisition and which actually hamper the development projects in this region. There is also local protest against the land acquisition. So that also becomes a problem for development of these urban areas. So these are the challenges with respect to the urban areas. The next challenge that we have is of the technological challenge. There is a clear digital divide between the poor and the rich. So that is one problem. Secondly, there is lack of technical expertise also in handling the modern means of technology implementation in the cities. Even if we are having modern technologies being installed in the cities, there is a clear lack of technical expertise to use those technologies. So that is another challenge. So we have to develop human resource also which can use those new technologies which can help in management of the urban areas. Next comes is the public health and safety. There is a overcrowded health infrastructure in the country, especially in the urban areas. Secondly, it is more affecting those people who belong to the poorer sections. And the financial brunt of that healthcare that actually impacts them very deeply, because first of all they have to pay for the healthcare. Secondly, they have to leave their job also, in which it means that they are not earning on that day. So that is actually one of the issue with respect to the healthcare. Secondly is the sanitation and waste management. All the urban cities in the country are more or less are facing the problem of waste disposal. There are landfill sites and these landfill sites are overburdened and are not able to handle the amount of waste that is being generated in the country. It is said that around 60 metric tons of waste is generated in a day in the country. So that becomes a problem of the waste management. And these landfill sites, these unsanitary conditions that are being created, they affect other things also. They also contribute to air pollution, they also contribute to water pollution, and they also contribute to groundwater pollution, because heavy metals and toxic metals leach down the earth and they reach up to the groundwater. So groundwater also becomes unfit for consumption. Now last challenge we have is the resistance to change, and this is due to cultural resistance. The locals who are living in the urban areas, they resist any kind of development development changes because of the culture, because there is cultural resistance. So that is another challenge in development of the urban areas. More or less, these 12 changes cover the issues the urban areas are facing. Now next comes is, what are the initiatives that the government is taking? Now one we have already seen, it is the smart city mission. Now other initiatives that the government are taking is, the first one is Amrit, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. This was launched in 2015 and its objective was to provide basic infrastructure including water supply, sewage, urban transport and green spaces, focusing on improving quality of life for all, especially poor. Key feature included universal coverage of water supply and sewage, that is important. It will be covering all. It is not like specific to 100 cities. It will be covering all the areas. Second, creation and maintenance of green spaces and parks, that we have seen. The challenge that we are facing, that there is lack of green parks and water bodies, so it will be focusing upon that also. Next, reform in governance to ensure service delivery. So these are the basic key features. And what is the progress? By January 2025, 77,640 crore worth of projects were sanctioned under Amrit 1 and Amrit 2, and it aims to achieve 100% water supply coverage in the cities. Next initiative is Swachh Bharat Mission Urban. One is rural and another one is urban branch. Now it was launched in 2014 and its objective was to achieve 100% scientific management of the municipal solid waste and eliminate open defecation. The key features included construction of household, community and public toilets, segregation and recycling of the waste, focus on behavior change through awareness campaigns, Then progress includes, as of 2023, 100% of the urban areas have achieved open defecation free status. That is important for us. Second, over 96,000 urban wards were practicing waste segregation. So these are the basic achievements of this Swachh Bharat mission. Next comes is the urban transport initiatives. The metro rail projects are being implemented in multiple cities. For example, in Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Delhi, Lucknow, Jaipur, these metro rail projects are being implemented and they are improving the public transport of these urban areas. Secondly, there is one more project, that is Regional Rapid Transit System. It aims at improving intercity connectivity of the urban agglomerations like Delhi, Ghaziabad, Meerut corridor. So the metro rail project is basically for intra-city, that is close by. The regional rapid transit system is for intercity connectivity. So these two projects are also being implemented. Next is Livable Cities India program. It focuses on enhancing urban livability through improved infrastructure, walkability, green spaces and air quality. Then one more scheme is there known as Hariday, Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana. Basically, it is focused upon those cities which have heritage value, which have our religious value, like Varanasi or Mathura. Now, it was launched in 2015. Its objective was to preserve and revitalize the heritage of Indian cities while promoting tourism also. Key features included integrated urban planning for heritage conservation, so that urban areas are being planned in a manner that heritage is also conserved and development is also there. Next, it focuses on improving infrastructure in heritage sites. Next, the progress includes 12 heritage cities including Varanasi, Ajmer and Amritsar. Now with this, you are in a position to attempt these practice questions. The next topic we have is Indus Water Treaty. The heading here is competent to judge Indus Water Treaty dispute, says World Bank neutral expert. Now it is in the backdrop of India accepts the competence of neutral expert in the IWT dispute, and it comes under GS paper 2. That is topic is India and its neighborhood. Now coming to the Indus Water Treaty. This treaty was signed between India and Pakistan in 1960 under World Bank. So World Bank brokered this Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan. Now this treaty is overseen by a permanent Indus Commission, which is having representatives from India as well as Pakistan. Now this treaty allows for limited use of each other's rivers for certain purposes like small hydroelectric projects. And one more condition is there. Unilaterally, no country can withdraw from it. If the treaty has to be nullified, then both of the countries have to agree on that. So there can be no unilateral withdrawal from the treaty. Now under this treaty, it says that there are 6 rivers. One is Indus, you can see on the map. Second is Jhelum and third is Chenab. These 3 rivers will be giving water to Pakistan. So Pakistan will be having rights over these treaty and India will be having only limited rights over these treaty. For example, domestic water use, India can use these rivers. For these small purposes, India can use the water of these rivers. However, Ravi river, Satluj river and Beas river, India will be having major control over these 3 rivers. So for these 3 rivers, India can utilize its waters for various projects like hydroelectricity projects, for irrigation projects. This water can be used. So this is the treaty that it divides the water of Indus river between India and Pakistan. The Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, you can make acronym as CJI. CJI will be under the control of Pakistan, that it will be giving water to Pakistan. And RBS, Rabi, Beas and Satluj, it will be giving water to India. India will be having claim over the water of these rivers. Next is that if there is a dispute between the two countries, for example, India and Pakistan, if they are having a dispute, then what can be the mechanism of resolution? So it is a 3-stage process. First one is Permanent Indus Commission is there, or PIC. They can resolve this dispute in the PIC. If PIC is not able to resolve this dispute, then a neutral expert can be appointed by the World Bank and he or she can help in dispute resolution. If the neutral experts also fail, then they can move to court of arbitration for the dispute resolution. So this is a three-layer dispute resolution mechanism provided under IWT. Now the question comes, why Indus Water Treaty was in news? It was in news because of two projects. One is Kishan Ganga Hydroelectric Project and another one is Ratel Hydroelectric Project. The Kishan Ganga Hydroelectric Project, it is a project for interbasin transfer of water from Gurez Valley to the Kashmir Valley. And it is on the Kishan Ganga, that is Neelam River, which is a tributary of Jhelum River. Jhelum, as we know, is in the control of Pakistan. Now Pakistan is having objection that the height of the dam and the increased water storage for India will not be in favor of Pakistan, and India will be having more water and having more capability to flood Pakistan. So Pakistan says that it affects the security of Pakistan as well as it is not in congruence with the IWT. Second is the Ratel project. The Ratel project is a 850 megawatt run-off river water project, and it is on Chenab River in the Kishtwar district of Jammu and Kashmir. Now the concern of Pakistan is that project's reservoir can be used for artificial water storage and can cause flooding in Pakistan. So that again becomes a challenge for Pakistan. So these are the two concerns for which Pakistan has raised that it wants to resolve this dispute and it wants India to stop its projects. Now before moving ahead, let me just tell you what is a run-off river water project and what is a storage dam project. The run-off river water project means that, as the name suggests, it means that the portion of the river is diverted through a canal or penstock and electricity will be generated through the natural drop in elevation. That means there will be no storage of water or minimal storage of water. And it relies on the natural flow of the river with little or no storage. Second is the storage dam hydropower project like Bhakra Nangal project, in which water will be stored in a reservoir behind a dam and released through pipes to spin a turbine when needed to generate electricity. So this is a difference between two. In the run-off river project, there will be minimal storage of water. The energy of the running water will be utilized. In a reservoir based or storage dam hydropower project, there will be a reservoir in which the water will be stored and that water will be released to generate electricity. So that is the difference between two. Now next comes is, in the mechanism, as we have already discussed, that there will be a permanent Indus commission, then neutral expert, and then there will be a court of arbitration. Now what has actually happened? What happened is that in 1944, World Bank devised a formula for distribution of water between India and Pakistan. Now in 1960, based upon this formula, the Indus Water Treaty was concluded. Now Indus Water Treaty divides water between India and Pakistan. The water of Chenab, Jhelum and Indus will go to Pakistan, and the water of Ravi, Beas and Satluj will go to India. So this was decided. Now in between, India started developing a hydroelectric project because the run-off river water project was not illegal under the treaty, because it is not storing the water, it is not diverting the water, it is just utilizing the energy of the water it is having. So India started these projects, that is Kishan Ganga project and the Ratel hydroelectricity project. Now in 1917, first of all, Pakistan expressed their concerns over this project. In 2016, Pakistan said that it wants to take this issue to the court of arbitration. Now India said that the court of arbitration, that this issue should be resolved by neutral expert first, then we can go to the court of expert. However, in 2022, World Bank actually referred the matter to the court of arbitration, and India denied to appear before this court, saying that already we are having a neutral expert who can resolve this issue, and on the other hand we are having a court of arbitration which is also going to hear this issue. So there are two parallel mechanisms that have been created, and in case of conflicting verdicts, what is going to be the result? So that actually becomes improbable that there can be a solution to this problem. So that's why India said that we are not going to appear before the court of arbitration. We are first of all going to explore the neutral expert route, then we are going to go for the court of arbitration. Now in 2025, that means today itself, the neutral expert said that World Bank neutral expert is very much capable of resolving any dispute under the Indus Water Treaty. The argument of Pakistan was that this neutral expert is not capable of resolving such kind of issue. However, neutral expert has now clarified that it is very much capable of resolving this dispute, and that's what has been India's stand, and India has welcomed it. So this was the whole issue. Now next we move to the practice question that you are having. You can post your answer in the comment box. Now next topic we have is JNPA joins top global port. This Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, it comes in Mumbai. It is situated in Mumbai, and it has become India's first port to enter top global ports. It comes under GS paper 3 under economy section. Now let's move to the news. It is located in Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra. It is the largest container port of India and handles 55% of the container traffic of India. Now the exports include textiles, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and import includes key raw materials and machinery for manufacturing. Now it is significant because it aims to reduce the dependency on China and strengthen local production and export capabilities, because we are having our own port, we are having our own means of communication. Now there are two kinds of port. The one is a major port and another one is a minor port. India has 13 major ports and 205 minor ports or non-major ports. The major ports are governed by Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. That is, they come under Union government. Secondly, the minor ports are administered by the states. Now the ports are the major routes of transportation and ports are most efficient. India's coastline is roughly 7,500 kilometers, and in terms of volume and value, port handles 95% by volume and 70% by value of all the India's exports. So the ports become very important for India. The sea connectivity is the most important means of transportation of goods to all over the world, or globally we have to export, then we are going to export through sea connectivity only. Now this map shows you the major ports of India. Starting from Gujarat, Deen Dayal Port, then you have Mumbai Port, then JNPA Port, Marmugao Port, New Mangalore Port, Cochin Port, VO Chittambaram Port, then Chennai Port, Kamraj Port, Vishakhapatnam Port, Paradip Port and Kolkata Port. So these are the 13 major ports. Now next is for port development, what schemes government is following. First one is Maritime India Vision of 2030. First of all, it focuses on rationalization of the port charges. Second thing, Maritime Development Fund has been created under it, and Port Regulatory Authority is also being developed under it. Second, Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047. It focuses on investing 80,000 lakh crore rupees in port development. World-class port and will promote inland water transport, coastal shipping, sustainable maritime sector, supporting India's blue economy. So a hefty amount of 80,000 crore will be invested in the implementation of our blue economy. Next is Sagarmala project. Its vision is to reduction of logistics for EXIM and domestic trade with minimal infrastructure and investment. Now based upon this, there is a practice question, the answer for which you can put in the comment box. The next topic, the last topic of the day is, World Economic Forum. Now the backdrop here is that World Economic Forum 2025 has begun, and it comes under GS paper 3 of international institutions. Now World Economic Forum, it was established in 1971 as a non-profit foundation, and its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. It provides a platform for global leaders, CEOs, policymakers, and experts. It hosts an annual conference in Davos focusing on various global issues. The key focus areas include Fourth Industrial Revolution, Global Commons, and Global Security. More than 1,000 leading companies are members of this World Economic Forum. For 2025, the theme is Collaboration for Intelligent Age. That becomes important here. For this year, the theme is Collaboration for the Intelligent Age. Intelligence simply means your Fourth Industrial Revolution or AI, right? Next thing is that There are 5 interconnected priorities of World Economic Forum. First one is rebuilding trust, reimagining growth, safeguarding the planet, investing in people, and industries in industrial intelligent age. Now, from Indian side, the delegation that has went to the World Economic Forum includes Union Cabinet Ministers, Minister of State, Chief Ministers of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra, and CII. The annual reports which this WEF publishes are, and these reports can be asked in the prelims question as well: Global Competitiveness Report, Global Information Technology Report, then Global Gender Gap Report, then Global Travel and Tourism Report, and Global Risk Report. So these are the important reports published by World Economic Forum. Lastly, the Davos Manifesto. It emphasizes ethics and corporate responsibility. So this was about the World Economic Forum. Now, based upon this, you have a practice question, the answer for which you can put in the comment box. So with this, we conclude for today. Thank you very much.